All right, so just a little bit of a life and squash update. So the most important thing that is happening in the next few weeks is I'm getting married. That has been taking up a bulk of my time. That would hopefully explains a little bit of a lack of the matches from my end. There's obviously been a lot with respect to planning and just life being very busy when you're planning a wedding. Not that I haven't thought about squash. It's not that squash has disappeared off the radar, but I'm not playing as much. Spending a lot of time coaching, if I'm not coaching, trying to do a lot of the other stuff which I'll mention now. But biggest thing that is happening right now at the moment is that I'm getting married. I did not plan to get married on World Squash Day, but sometimes I guess the script writes itself. 15th of October, World Squash Day, we're getting married. It just happened to be like that, and yeah, only God knows why. Second thing, what can I say about it? I won't particularly say that I've been injured, but I have been feeling a lot of niggles, especially around my knees. Hard sessions and me obviously getting old definitely is not friendly for the knees, and I struggled with that a lot during Jarvis itself, or Growth Point tournament, as well as after. I felt that I wanted to try play a lot more, but my knees were giving me a bit of an issue, specifically the left knee. I think about 4 weeks later, my fiance Imala did hint towards the fact that I do spend a lot of my time sitting down for my day job. Definitely around 6 to 8 hours or 6 to 7 hours is spent sitting down, and she did sort of motivate me towards getting a standing desk. That has been doing a great job. So at the end of the day, I think it was just obviously weak glutes. Weak glutes will mean that more strain is obviously carried on your knees, and that is why I was feeling a lot of pain. 2 to 3 weeks after getting the standing desk, I noticed that I wasn't foam rolling as much. I still foam roll, but the thing is that I don't experience the pain that I normally experience now, and that's been great. Definitely been giving myself and my body the opportunity to rest and recover, especially with respect to my glutes as well as knee. But I do feel 100% now. Yes, I do feel a niggle here and there, but the frequency of that has obviously died down due to the fact that I haven't been playing as much, but also a big contributing factor is the fact that I do have a standing desk now. The other thing to mention is around training. The only training session, as I mentioned, with me being busy, that I've been able to attend is actually a Saturday session with Tyron, who is my coach. We've been doing a lot of work trying to correct some of the things that I believe, because of my bad knees and also adapting to a faster pace, I found that I would sort of compensate with my body going in the wrong direction and wrong way, which has caused myself to develop these bad habits. Trying to sort of, by obviously alleviating some of the pains, that has contributed significantly, but also with that, I have to sort of unlearn some of the habits that I have learned over time, and that has meant that, you know, we've been doing a lot of correction. The sessions are really hard, really, really hard, and I do enjoy them. Not complaining, but just really they are hard. And the thing is that you don't realize how much of a bad habit that you do have up until someone points it out. So trying to basically go back to the fundamentals, go back to basics. So my game is very, very basic at the moment, which is sort of nice. There is, I guess it comes down to mentality and discipline. You know, some of the old habits will creep in, especially when you get tired and you're really being pushed hard. Yeah, really stripping the game down to its, I won't say it's fundamentals, but a really boring level of squash to make sure that the basics are sort of really drilled in. At least the one good hard session that I get during the week is with Tyron. That has been helping a lot, but I'm still not there yet. Which goes on to, I guess, the next point. Now that we're obviously at the end of the season, I didn't play a lot of the matches after. One work related and obviously wedding related as well. One of the agreements was obviously that after the Growth Point tournament, we'd spend a lot more time with some of the clients that we had at work, and that would mean sometimes I'll have to work beyond 6 o'clock, which is obviously time where league games would start, or around 5:30 at least here in PE. Had to work with a lot of American clients, obviously because of time zones, has shifted work a bit later. And, you know, being allowed to go to the Growth Point tournament at that time, obviously sacrificing a bit of time not being available for work. Now, obviously, I have to work that back. So that's obviously been putting a lot of pressure, and that has meant that I have obviously not been playing as much squash as I've wanted to, trying to make sure that I've unlearned all of these bad habits, trying to experimenting with a lot of things. So I've experimented, as you've probably seen with some of the matches, or maybe the last match at least that I uploaded of myself, experimenting with rackets, experimenting with strings. And as myself and Tyron have got to the point of actually finding out what is wrong and how to correct it and stuff like that, that has obviously, at least in my side, not from his end, he obviously just points me into the right direction, and I have to obviously go do the fault finding myself. Not fault finding, but the experimentation myself, according to my budget and my, you know, what I want and what I'm looking for. And so that has meant obviously I've tried a lot of rackets, tried a lot of strings, tried a lot of grips, grip placement, all those kind of things. And as the fundamentals are sort of starting to sink in, I'm sort of settling towards the racket that I would want to use, or the direction at least which I want to go in. And then I have been experimenting with the, I'll say, fitness component of squash. So on the final night of the Growth Point tournament, I sat next to Jason LaRue, and we've had a lot of discussions around fitness and health in general. He is, plus 40, and he's attended 20 Jarvis tournaments or Growth Point tournaments. And it's sort of, well, I say plus 40 as if I'm confident with that. I don't know. I think he's towards the late 30s or early 40s. If you've seen him, if you've met him, if you see some of the videos that I have uploaded of his matches, he's a specimen of a man. Just picked his brain on the final night while everyone else was drinking to find out exactly what it is that makes him tick, and some of the science behind it, because he does work at the High Performance Center at NMMU, the university here. So there was a lot of theories and a lot of discussions and a lot of insight that I got from him, and I sort of speak to him, I wouldn't say on a weekly basis, very frequently in the beginning, but now as I'm trying stuff, sort of giving myself time to sort of collect my thoughts and eventually give him feedback, and he gives me obviously some sort of feedback and adjustments to make through obviously my own research as well as discussions with him. Been doing a lot of zone 2 training, which is obviously to build my aerobic capacity, my aerobic base. That is probably another reason to sort of skip some of the social leagues, at least playing wise. I'll definitely be there to join with respect to watching and supporting, trying to bring you guys a few matches, obviously some hotly contested matches in a different format. Summer league is normally, I think, 23 minutes straight, and the points just continue going. An opportunity right now to sort of take my time and just build my aerobic base. I won't say it's boring training, but it's very long, grueling sessions. What does help obviously during those sessions of an hour and a half on the treadmill, an hour and a half on the bike, or an hour and a half in the swimming pool, obviously not the swimming pool for this specific example, is obviously watching squash TV. So been watching a lot more full matches. If you can and have the opportunity of actually watching squash TV, I would highly recommend it, especially watching the full games, the full matches, and compared to the highlights. There's so much that you actually miss out when you want to watch the highlights. There's so much that you don't get to see with respect to how they've tactically or strategically built up certain points and things that they're doing, and that's why certain variations are working. I think you really, as much as the highlights are great, you get to see something, especially if you don't have time, I think that you do yourself sometimes a disservice seeing how deep the game of squash is over, a 3-setter or a 5-setter, just because you actually get to see all of the traps that they're putting into place, some of the things that they've been doing, how they've sort of adjusted their game throughout the match. Been spending a lot of time doing zone 2 training, and while doing zone 2 training, obviously been watching a lot of squash. And that's the thing, squash is still in my mind, even though I am not playing as much as I'd like to. It's also helping with coaching, watching all those squash matches and actually seeing things that you might not have thought of, and also even the discussions that I have with Tyron, them sort of starting to make sense when I've watched a full match, maybe between Paul Cole and Ali Farag like yesterday, starting to see exactly why it is that we're training certain things, why it is that we're doing certain things. And obviously when things are pieced together and I actually have a lot more knowledge, I don't want to just ramble and make videos for the sake of making videos, but when I've actually got good feedback information, definitely will share with the community. But that's about it. It's just a short update about where I've been and what I'm doing, and I will see you guys very soon with a lot more videos, a lot of interesting projects in the pipeline. Until then, take care. Cheers.